Girl's Voice ASMR. Hi, I'm so excited to be back. We are on part 7, page 142. Chapter is Lexi. Let's get started with no safety in numbers. Oh my god, Maddie squealed, sloshing her decaf mocha inside its paper cup. You have to tell her about Tomo's party the other weekend. It was like the riot had never happened. The mess had been cleaned up by the feds overnight, and even the fear was hard to recall. Sitting now as Lexi was in the food court, the place where everyone hung out. According to Maddie, Lexi noticed that the halls, for the most part, were devoid of grown-ups. Maybe they'd been scared into hiding, but not the teens. Ginger was mid-sip and began shaking with laughter. Sorry, she mumbled, trying to swallow without snarfing her latte. Too funny. Fine, Maddie said. I'll tell her. Maddie began regaling Lexi with another tale from the history of Irvington Country Day. Apparently it was not all tea parties and polo games. The last story ended with, and then we had to call the fire department because the bonfire lit up the grass clippings in the lawn. So this was the life she'd been denied by sticking with video games and computer programming. She'd never seen an entire lawn ablaze before. Maybe everything was more fun when there was a bit more terror lurking in the shadows. Take, for instance, Maddie Flynn. Not the brightest chip on the circuit board, but totally entertaining. Her stories helped distract Lexi from the fact that one floor below, down a short hall, government scientists were figuring out whether or not she had Ebola. Probably not. She had yet to start bleeding out her eyes. Maddie was up in a chair now, imitating the dance some girl had done across the diving board of Tomo's pool, and then she totally fell in, drink and all. Maddie stepped down off the seat. Why'd you stop this show? Some guy hollered from across the food court. In your dreams, Maddie screamed back, not even looking up. How do you put up with it? Lexi asked. Boys are stupid, Maddie said, swilling more coffee. They're always thinking with their crotch. I wish my boobs were worthy of a shout-out, Ginger said, but I'd rather have ballet than boobs. I hate it, Lexi said. So a guy likes your boobs and says so, but why let it get you? Maddie asked, giving Lexi the raised eyebrow once-over. I'm not like you, Lexi said. Maddie's eyebrows sunk into a scowl. Lexi scrambled for a better explanation. I mean, I'm not good with boys. Now their interest was piqued. Have you ever been kissed? Ginger asked. No. Maddie leaned over the table, a wicked smile unfurling across her face. I dare you to go up to. She flicked a purple painted nail. I dare you to go up to that table and offer one of those guys a lap dance. What do I get if I do it? Lexi asked. An airy feeling expanded through her stomach and tingles right down to her fingers. Well, you get to dare me to do something, Maddie said. What a proposition. A measly dance for control over Maddie Flynn. Done and done. Fine, she said. She stood up. She'd seen movies. She knew what to do, what boys were looking for. So she had never really danced. She and Darren spent middle school dances at home playing Halo online. It couldn't be that hard. She didn't have to touch the guy, and he couldn't touch her. There were rules, right? She was in front of them. What? One of the guys grunted. Lexi gulped down what felt like an ocean of saliva. Which one of you would like a lap dance? The boys looked at one another and then burst out laughing. Lexi remained calm. She popped her hip out, giving them a full view of her generous rump. Then she unzipped her hoodie. She was wearing a normal t-shirt, but with her boobs, normal t-shirts were revealing. She pulled the ends of when she reached the front of his chair. She bent forward, shoving her bottom right in his face. Maddie flopped back into her chair. "Did you really do that on purpose?" she asked. A billion butterflies batted their wings against Lexi's belly, and she was lightheaded. "Hell yeah, I did," Lexi said. There were moments in which one should tell the truth, and this was not one of them. She was cool. She was in control. She turned to Maddie. "Now, it's my turn. I dare you to do that dance again on the chair." "Lame," Maddie sang. Lexi dug into her brain. In what depths did one have to sink to impress someone like Maddie? "Fine," she said. "I dare you to streak the ice skating rink." Maddie's eyes sparkled. "Oh, you're on." They'd been at it all day and Lexi was exhausted. Maddie had gotten a rash from falling butt naked onto the ice. Ginger was wanted by the sales lady at Sephora for stealing lipsticks, and Lexi had slid on her stomach all the way down a bowling lane, knocking over the pins with her head, a 7-10 split, and was now banned from playing there for life. They'd been at it all day, and Lexi was exhilarated. After a dinner spent recounting the day's insanity, they retired to Abercrombie, where the other resident teens had begun to gather. Lexi turned to Maddie. "Truth, how many of these guys have you kissed?" Maddie waved her hand around. "Truth sucks. Give me a dare." "Truth or dare," a male voice cooed in. "My kind of game." 3 boys materialized out of the pheromone-laced shadows. "Welcome to the naughty circle," Maddie said, patting the floor beside her and batting her bedroom eyes. The boys inserted themselves between Lexi and Maddie. One eyed Lexi's chest, then looked her in the eye and gave her a chin shut of approval. Lexi's skin crawled. "I dare you," Maddie said, pointing at one of the boys, "to take off your shirt." The guy smiled, checked in with his bros on either side, then lifted his tee, revealing abs the likes of which Lexi had only glimpsed on a screen. More kids appeared. There was nothing like a sex game to lure in the masses. "Me next," a newcomer said. "I dare you." He pointed to a blonde girl in a tank. "To take off your clothes." She giggled, then began peeling off her top. The room felt too dark. The racks of clothes pressed in on Lexi. "Now me," said the underwear-clad girl. "I dare you to kiss her." She pointed at a brunette in a sweater who blushed, but leaned forward eagerly. Lexi did not want her first kiss to be the result of a dare, some sloppy, slimy drool fest across the wood floor of an Abercrombie. The two kissed. Somewhere in the shadows, a kid coughed. The word Ebola flashed in neon behind Lexi's eyes. This was dangerous. There were germs, people. The 2 kisses separated. The girl licked her lips. The boy sneezed. This game was like freaking Russian roulette. Maddie was on the other side of the circle, but Ginger was still next to Lexi, and she seemed to be intently watching the game, leaning forward after each dare like she was hoping some guy would notice her. "We've got to get out of here," Lexi whispered into Ginger's ear. "Huh?" Ginger glanced at her. "Don't worry," she said. "If you don't want to do it, just say pass." "It's not that," Lexi said. "I mean, it is that, but it's something more." Ginger looked at her. "Okay, what?" From across the circle, I dare those 2 to kiss." He was pointing at Lexi and Ginger blanched. Lexi grabbed Ginger's arm, dragging her to her feet. "We pass." She pulled Ginger into a pool of shadow. Hoots of disappointment burst from the circle. "What are you doing?" Ginger said, wrenching her arm from Lexi's grasp. "Saving your life." Lexi was trying to be vague. She wouldn't be divulging any secrets so long as she was vague. "What are you talking about?" Ginger asked. She was getting mad now. She glanced at the circle. Another couple was kissing. "The security situation," Lexi said. She instantly had Ginger's attention. "Did your mom tell you something?" "Yes, how to say as little as possible." "The medical teams," Lexi blurted. "They think there's something in the air, like we're infected or something." Ginger's eyes teared up. "Are we going to die?" "No," Lexi said, covering. "No, it's just that you could get sick. I mean, they have cures for this stuff, but you don't want to go through that." "Oh my God," she said. She looked at the circle. "We should tell them to stop." Lexi grabbed her arm before she could move. No, I mean, my mom said that they were just going to cure everyone without saying anything to avoid people freaking out. That's actually what the testing is, but still not a trucker. They were in the well-lit hall now. Lexi's breathing slowed. She felt calmer. Why didn't I think of using a CB before? But maybe we can reach a trucker. Maybe they can call my dad. Ginger grabbed her arm and pulled Lexi around to face her. I need to talk to him. The girl was white as death. All Lexi had wanted was to get out of the store, and she owed Ginger something. And didn't Ginger's dad deserve to know at least that Ginger was alright? I have a friend, Darren, Lexi said. He used to have a CB radio built in from one of those kits. Maybe I can reach him and he can call your dad. Ginger threw her arms around Lexi. Thank you, she said. And then she pulled away blushing. Sorry, she said. I guess we shouldn't hug anymore. No, Lexi said. An oil slick of regret began to bubble in her gut. Lexi bought a portable CB radio, and her dad was going to blow a transistor when he got his credit card bill. She led Ginger to a quiet corner in the home section of the JCPenney, far from the senator's prying ears. They took some fake LED candles from a Halloween display to light the way. It wasn't lights out yet, but the staff had switched off half the lights, and somebody was snoring nearby. Nestled in a pile of throw pillows, Lexi clicked to the channel she and Darren had used as kids. D-Master, she whispered into the mic. You out there? This feels like a seance, Ginger said, slinking closer to Lexi. Darren, she said again. Lexi, he was there. He was waiting for her. She felt a tear trickle down her cheek. It's me, she said, smiling just to hear his voice. I left the radio on in case you remembered. What's going on in there? He asked. The news people are talking dirty bombs. It's not a dirty bomb, Lexi said, then instantly regretted it. Wait, you know what's going on? Why didn't he ask if she was okay? Shouldn't that have been his first question? Look, everything's going to be fine, she said. I need you to do me a favor. Yeah, sure, he said. So what's it like in there? Are people going crazy? For all their years of friendship, didn't he even know her? Did he even care? It's totally normal, Lexi said, like any other day at the mall. She let go of the talk button. Why are you lying to him? Ginger said. I thought he was your best friend. The CB crackled. That sucks, he said. These past few days, I kind of wished I'd gone to the mall with you. It sounded like it may have been cool. Being trapped in the Commerce Dome is suddenly cool, Lexi asked. At least it would be different. A trapdoor snapped in Lexi's brain, releasing the understanding that boredom had been her bedrock of her former life. Funny how she'd never seen the games and movies for what they were, ways of passing time while in a holding pattern waiting for real life to begin. Well, if this is real life, she preferred boredom. Ask him about my dad, Ginger said, reminding Lexi of why they'd bother contacting Darren in the first place. Lexi clicked the talk button. I need you to call someone for me and say exactly what I tell you to, okay? Can he go and get my dad? Ginger said. Tears began to form in her eyes. Can I talk to him myself? Would your dad really follow some random kid to his house to use a CB? Well, probably not. The CB squeaked. Who am I calling? Darren asked. My friend wants to talk to her dad. Ginger said the number. It's ringing, Darren said. When the line picked up, Ginger began dictating to Darren. There were several minutes of back and forth establishing that this call was for real, and then Ginger sobbed to her parents about how she was fine and that they all couldn't be trapped in here for much longer because the government was curing everyone. Curing everyone, Darren said. Yeah, Ginger said. Tell my dad the security situation is some disease, but they're curing it, and then we can all go free. The icy fingers of the oil slick strangled Lexi from within. How do they know there's a cure? Darren asked. Is that my dad asking or you? Both, Lexi said. Silence. He's not buying it, Darren said. Lexi grabbed the CB from Ginger. Make him buy it, she said. She felt lightheaded. Her heart was racing. Someone snuffling on the other aisle. What game? Oh, just some Halo. The regular guys. No, some new kids. I'm sniping the crap out of them. They have no idea what they're doing. Sounds really boring. Nothing else to do. Lexi felt a sob catch in her throat. Well, it ain't for you to let those noobs off the hook because of me. Like I'd ever radio me again. Yeah, Lexi said, knowing that she would not. Hang tough, my sister, he said. Yeah, hang tough. She turned the CB off and fell back into the pillow. She stared at the flickering shadows until her tears blurred them into nothing. Marco staked out the Apple store all morning watching for the girl in the hoodie, aka the senator's daughter. Shards of glass were embedded in the carpet outside the store. Spilled dirt darkened the fibers in the rug near one of the large potted plants, and the tree in it stood at an odd angle. Still, someone had done a good job cleaning the worst of it up. You could almost pretend there'd been no riot here last night. The girl in the hoodie never showed, so there was nothing to do but retreat to the restaurant. On his way back, Marco noticed other changes brought on by the riot. There were now guys in hazmat suits roaming the halls with riot shields and long poles that looked like cattle prods. He was not sure if this was the wisest decision. As if reading his mind, a group of kids jumped on a hazmat cop from behind, and the cop began whacking at them with the shield and the cattle prod. Then a kid caught the prod away from him, and two other hazmat cops appeared and tasered the kids, dropping them onto the tiles. One cop retrieved the pilfered taser from the boy's limp hand. Marco wasn't the only one watching. Some adults cheered, a few carried mops or wore gloves, and evidence that at least some people had volunteered for the government's cleanup crew. Marco guessed that it would take 24 hours, maybe less, for the government to realize that the hazmat cops just provided these guys with a target for all their pent-up rage. By tomorrow, the asylum would once again belong to the inmates. To avoid running into any more mini riots, Marco took the service elevator up to the Grill and Shake. Josh was manning the host station when Marco emerged from the back, wrapping his apron around his waist. It's 10 to 12. Inside going. Lunch rush. Ahoy. Josh continued to roll silverware. You want to get the enforcer, or do I? The enforcer was how they'd come to refer to Mr. Sveglia. He'd turn over running the bar after the bartender, a college girl named Heather, started coughing into the drinks. Once relieved of duty, Heather had taken off and no one had seen her since. I've got it, Marco said, returning into the maze of the dining room. Their boss had looked worse than he had this morning. Marco hadn't thought the man could look any more ticked off than he had when they had made the announcement about the free food giveaway. It wasn't bad enough they locked us in here, he said, but they'd take away our ability to do business as well. Now he looked kind of sick and crazy in addition to ticked. The glare from the computer screen gave his skin the pallor of moldy bread. The enforcer didn't look up from his screen. We've run out of onion explosions, he said. Wings will be next. Marco wasn't sure what the man was getting at. That's terrible, sir, he said. Terrible is only the beginning of it, son. The free food is apparently disgusting enough that we still have customers, but they feel a financial crunch soon enough, and then they'll eat what the feds give them. No way, Marco said. People have credit cards. Mr. Sveglia tapped the screen. We'll run out of food in 2 days anyway. Then what, my boy? The enforcer ducked his head and coughed violently, then pulled out a tissue and blew his nose. Was the suggestion here that Mr. Sveglia was planning on closing up shop? Marco would not let that happen. He could not. The halls here are not safe, he began. I've been sneaking out there, trying to learn what I can about this security situation. Oh, yeah. He gulped down what looked like tea. People need a place to eat. The government might be handing out food, but they're not handing out tables. And the food court's run by gangs at this point. Why not let people use the restaurant? It would be a safe haven for families, and maybe they'd still buy drinks. He coughed again. I like this thinking, he said. What else do you got? Marco groped around in his brain. The bathrooms, he said, the gears really beginning to spin. The crews the government tried to pull together to clean the main Johns have done shoddy work at best. If we keep ours clean, we can charge people $1. Mr. Sveglia was looking livelier by the second. That's too much, Marco said. It has to be a token, something people won't care too much about, like a quarter. Mr. Sveglia stood, clapped Marco on the shoulder. Marco wished the man wouldn't touch him. The enforcer had just used that hand to wipe his running nose, and Marco couldn't afford to get the cold that was going around. Well, we'll stay in business yet, Mr. Sveglia said, gulping down the last of his liquid. Time for lunch, eh? Mr. Sveglia steered Marco out of the office, locked it behind them. As they walked toward the front, Marco saw Shay standing near the host station. She was okay. To thank him for helping her get her insulin for her grandmother. She should have known no thanks were necessary, but it was a nice gesture. Marco paused to look in one of the mirrors that adorned the walls of the Grill and Shake. His hair wasn't terrible. His face, well, what could you do? He turned, ready to welcome her, sit her down, maybe join her for a quick lunch before things really got going at the restaurant. And then he saw that she was not alone. She was with the guy Ryan, and from the way she leaned toward him, he knew that they were more than friends. She was not here to see him. Probably had forgotten his existence entirely. Probably wouldn't recognize him if he walked right up to them and offered them a table. Screw her. If she wanted that tall, dull, and handsome ignoramus, she could have him. Marco didn't need her. He didn't need anyone. He caught up with his boss, careful to hide behind a column as he passed the front, shielding himself from the happy couple. I have another suggestion, he said. Mr. Sveglia ducked under the counter into the center to the avoid bar. What's that? No teens, he said. Keep the place family friendly. He pointed to where Shay and Ryan waited for Josh, starting with them. Teens are really the worst customers anyway, he said, wiping down the freshly washed glasses. Kick them to the curb and put a sign out. We'll bring in the good people, the drinkers, he winked. He was a sick bastard. Marco told Josh the new plan and instructed him to start with Shay and her boyfriend. He suggested Josh bring the grill cook, Jerome, out with him for extra muscle. Then Marco got the sandwich board sign from the janitorial closet and wrote, Families welcome, bring your food to us, we'll provide the fun. It sounded like the kind of thing his parents would have liked. He was reminded that he hadn't spoken to his family today. He'd been calling home every morning before his mom left for her shift, and when his dad would be in from the nightcap run. Marco picked up the phone in the back of the restaurant near the kitchen and found the line dead. So he was truly alone now. Not that it changed anything. Marco was good at alone. He was a survivor. He'd make it through this. Oh, Ryan. Awesome. It was the only thing running through Ryan's brain. Awesome, awesome. Who cared that they got shut out of the Grill and Shake? Just the sight of Shay skimming a paper bag down the aisle from him, his paper flower tucked behind her ear, made him smile. She was the most beautiful person he'd ever seen, and it wasn't just her body, which he'd wanted, even now that she'd put back on the flowy overshirt. Her light shone on everyone around her. The mall was beautiful. He was the guy he'd always wanted to be. Dangerous things were made safe. He could pick up a book and not be afraid to say he didn't get it. When he asked who Jane Austen was, glancing at the book she'd been flipping through, she tapped him on the head with Pride and Prejudice and told him to educate himself. Then she held his cheeks in her palms and asked him what he'd been doing all these years in school anyway. Football, he answered. Jane Austen was hard. The sentences were long, and the story seemed to be about a bunch of girls who wanted to get married. Not exactly the kind of stuff Ryan would have picked up on his own. You like this book? He asked Shay, walking toward her. Everyone likes this book, she said. She glanced at where he'd stopped reading. See, it's actually really funny here. Mr. Bennet just played a trick on his wife by going to visit this new guy in town when he'd sort of tortured her by saying he wouldn't go. Why didn't she just go herself? The whole thing seemed way too complicated, and he was only on chapter 2. A lady just can't run up to any old gentleman and introduce herself, she exclaimed in that stuffy British voice. Ryan had the feeling he'd been doing a lot better in English if he'd had someone like Shay to study with. Shay pulled a book called The Chocolate War off a shelf. Here, she said, taking the Austen from his hands. This is about surviving an all-boys school. There are even football games in it. Now this seemed a little closer to Ryan's corner of the universe. Ryan bought himself the book, and Shay bought How I Live Now. I feel like I need I'm Shayla Dixit, she said, holding out her free hand. Mike shook it. A little formal, he said. He looked at Ryan, smiled, and let go of her hand. But any friend of Ryan's a pal of mine. Dude, Drew said, tell him. We have 10 minutes. Mike gave Shay the once over again, then pulled them both into a corner. We caught up with some boosters who saw the game Sunday. They're planning on escaping through the garage. Are you in? Ryan's first thought was, yes, of course, but then he remembered that escaping would mean leaving Shay, maybe forever. He hadn't even known her full name until she'd said it moments before. How could he ever find her again? Come with us, Ryan said, taking her other hand. I can't leave without my grandmother and sister. Shay seemed suddenly more nervous, like she just remembered that she had a grandmother and a sister. Fine, Mike said. Bring the old lady and the sister. If she's cute, she can ride in my car. She's 10, Shay said, frowning. Ryan squeezed Shay's hand. He didn't want her to frown. Meet me in the parking garage, he said. Promise. This does not sound like a good idea. Shay smiled again, and Ryan had to press his lips to hers, drink hers in before she was gone. It was like kissing a star. He felt her light inside him. She pulled away slowly. I'll be there as soon as I find them. She squeezed his hands and ran down the hall toward the escalator. Let's move, Mike said, pushing Ryan towards the elevator. There was a little TV screen in the elevator, which someone had turned to the local news station. As the three rode to the parking garage level, the news lady yacked about nothing. We have former police chief Patrick McNeil in the studio. Is it true, Chief McNeil, that given the link of the confinement and blackout of communication from inside the mall, that this is not a hostage situation, but more like a dirty bomb? And if so, is there any danger for the surrounding community? The feed cut out. What the? Drew said, banging on the screen. The elevator reached the parking level. The doors opened and the screen switched to say, have a nice day. Must have just been that channel, Ryan said. First the phones, now the news. You see a pattern. It won't matter once we get out of here, Mike said, stepping into the gloom of the parking garage. Three older guys, some who looked older than Ryan's dad, stood under a fluorescent light near a red Suburban. Mike walked up to one and shook his hand. Mr. Reynolds, Mike said, this is Ryan Murphy, the kid I was telling you about. Mr. Reynolds had slick silver hair and a tanned face. Saw you play Sunday. Fierce like your brother, eh? Yes, sir, Ryan said. Something about Mr. Reynolds' smile and the way he said fierce, as if anything less than fierce was wussy, made Ryan nervous. What's the play? Drew asked, smacking his fist into his hand, which was Drew's ready pose. Mr. Reynolds patted the side of the Suburban. This here is the play. Mr. Reynolds patted the side of the Suburban. This here is the play. The plan was to get as far from the main exit ramp as possible, then gun the Suburban's engine and fly into the metal mesh security gate that had been pulled over the parking garage opening. The mesh was covered over on the outside by what looked like a giant garbage bag. Mr. Reynolds figured that the gate couldn't stand up to a beating from his truck. He expected to blow through it and drive his way to freedom. Ryan glanced at the central pavilion where the escalators on to the first floor were. How long would it take, Shay? Are we all riding in the Suburban? One of the other men asked. He glanced at a nice Audi coupe parked 2 aisles over. I'd hate to leave her here. No, we caravan, Mr. Reynolds said. I checked out all the windows I could find to gather intel on what we'd face beyond the doors. There's only a couple of police cars on the mall grounds, aside from the big tent where those medical guys in the suits are working. But it's the wall they built around the grounds that I'm worried about. They've got a perimeter established to keep the press back. If we're in a couple of cars going through the gate, though, we can split up on the outside, but more targets will have a harder time stopping any one of us. I think that's our best shot at getting out. The plan sounded solid. Excitement buzzed through Ryan. He checked the pavilion, still empty. The men began to split up. Mike pulled out a set of keys. Let's move. Shay's not here yet, Ryan said. Drew smacked the back of Ryan's head. Dude, it's now or never. Mike sighed. You can wait for her while I get the car. But if she's not here by the time I get back, you've got to let her go. He lopped across the pavement toward his car, which beeped as he pressed a button on his key ring. Drew followed, calling shotgun. Ryan stared at the pavilion, willing Shay to appear. Please, God, let her come with us. He saw feet on the escalator. His heart leaped, but it was just some old dude. He stepped out and walked stepped out of the passenger door and pushed toward his seat. Get in before I have to drag your ass over here. Ryan checked his watch. It'd been 20 minutes. She might still be coming. Drew grabbed his arm and pulled him to the passenger door. Forget that, girl, he said, shoving Ryan into the back. Ryan glanced one more time at the empty pavilion as Mike's car revved down the aisle and pulled up behind the Audi. They had to move quickly. Mr. Reynolds was afraid the engine noise would attract attention. Their cars were started. They had to do it or give up. Mr. Reynolds didn't seem like the kind of man to give up on anything. For those brief moments as the cars grumbled near the wall, Ryan felt the full extent of the insanity of this plan as an urgent need to be. He had to get out of that car and use a bathroom. He needed to think about this. They were all planning on driving full speed on purpose into a wall. But then the Suburban lurched and squealed down the road between the parked cars. Mike floored it and the M3 bolted after the Audi. Ryan's heart raced. Acceleration at the sheer speed of their attack flooded through him. He remembered in the last second that he hadn't buckled his seatbelt and reached for the strap. The seatbelt locked just before the Suburban hit the gate. Ryan had not been prepared for what happened next. Complete and total failure. The Suburban smashed into the gate, but the gate held. It must have been reinforced on the outside by something incredibly strong. The metal mesh didn't move an inch. The back end of Mr. Reynolds' truck shot up into the air and then bounced down hard. The Audi squealed out of the way and flipped over, rolling into a parked minivan. Mike managed to veer off course down an aisle and slammed on the brakes. Ryan was thrown forward, but he held against the leather of the seat by his belt. Mike, too, remained seated. Drew, however, had not been put on his belt. He slammed into the windshield, spiderwebbing the glass. Dude, Mike said, pulling Drew back into his seat. Drew put his hand to his head. It's cool, he said. He lifted his hand, removing a splinter of glass from his scalp. Blood trickled down his face. Mike punched him in the arm. I always tell you to put your goddamn belt on. He sounded scared. Ryan felt tingly all over, like maybe he'd been tossed from his own body, but he was all right. By some small miracle, they were all okay. A cop came running down toward them. Anybody hurt? He asked, breathing hard. He must have run the whole way down. No, sir, Mike said. He spoke in a quiet voice. Ryan had never heard him use before. The cop ran toward the Audi and the Suburban without so much as a nod or goodbye. An arm hung off the side of the Suburban's hood. They were not all okay. Other people rushed out of the central pavilion. Ryan guessed the noise from the crash had spooked the whole mall. Several guards broke out of the crowd and a few stood in front of the onlookers, keeping them from getting any closer. The rest ran past the M3 to the other cars. They dragged Mr. Reynolds out of the Suburban and some hazmat guys rushed by pushing a gurney. The guards knocked together a jail from some fencing material brought down from the Home Mart. Ryan, Mike, Drew, and the Audi guy were tossed into the cages. After being released from the medical ward, Mr. Reynolds joined them. His neck was in a brace. The guy who had been riding with Mr. Reynolds was in critical condition. It'll be all right, boys, Mr. Reynolds said, as the guard closed the gate on his cell. I'll figure a way to get us out of this. No way I'm taking part in this government-run experiment. I'll bust a skull before I let them suck on my DNA, Mike growled. All Ryan could think about was that he was lucky to be alive, and even if he was in jail, he was also still in the mall. Maybe Shay could help find him. Maybe she could help get him out. All Ryan could think of was that he was lucky to be alive, and even if he was in jail, he was also still in the mall. Maybe Shay would find him, and maybe she could help get him out. With her, such things felt possible. He leaned against the fence, pulled out her book, and pretended she was there reading with him. Day 5, Wednesday. The glare of the lights on burned through Lexi's eyelids. She felt as if she were made of a mist. She had gotten much in the way she hadn't. The glare of the lights on burned through Lexi's eyelids. She felt as if she were made of mist. She hadn't gotten much in the way of sleep. From the sound of it, Ginger hadn't slept much either. The throw pillow pile in JCPenney was more comfortable than the cement floor of the Apple store, but last night's CB call had changed something. Suddenly the divide between them and everyone outside seemed insurmountable. She'd hidden the portable CB under the bottom shelf against the wall. No one would find it there. Even vacuums had forgotten the particular span of floor, judging from the herd of dust bunnies wafting around. The mall speakers crackled to life. Alexandria Ross, please report to the Apple store. The senator's voice was a barely controlled scream. Ginger pushed herself to seating. She glanced this, she said, squeezing the last of the bottle into her palms. You can't tell anyone what I told you, Lexi said, not even Maddie, okay? It was like tossing water on the ashes after the house had already been burned. Ginger slid a pink-painted nail in an X over her heart. Our secret. Lexi tried to come up with the likely reasons for her mother to scream her name over a loudspeaker at 8 in the morning. Had she heard about the shoplifting, the stun at the bowling alley? Was she angry that Lexi had not returned to the Apple store last night? She couldn't have found out about Ginger's call. Lexi had been with Ginger all night. Unless Ginger's dad had done something. The oiled slick in her gut confirmed it. Ginger's dad had done something. But what? She hovered outside the entrance to the Apple store. Her mother was near the registers in the back talking to Dad. The senator was whispering loudly, slicing her hands through the air, and Dad was nodding, hand on chin. Lexi took a deep breath and stepped into the store. The senator's eyes locked onto her. The stockroom, she said, turning. Dad was right behind her. Neither waited to see if Lexi followed. Lexi felt sweat prick out all over her skin. Even if Ginger's dad did something, how could they have linked anything back to her? Her parents were waiting in the back corner. There was a makeshift lounge back there, a threadbare couch, some chairs, a mini fridge. The senator and Arthur stood in front of a flimsy table. I trusted you, her mother growled. It's clear now that that was my first mistake. Lexi flinched as if she'd been smacked. How did you call Darren? Her father asked calmly. So that was how they found her out. I knew Darren had a CB radio. I called him using that. Ginger was freaking out and was desperate to talk to her dad. This radio. The senator pulled the police scanner from her pocket. Lexi didn't correct her mistake. Why was Ginger freaking out, I asked. I told her not everything, but there was a sickness, and that we're curing it. I didn't want her to worry. The senator snorted a nasty laugh. Well, I'm glad you calmed her fears. They've determined it's the flu, meaning that there's no cure. The flu? That didn't sound too devastating. Dad glared at the senator, then turned back to Lexi. Your mother told you about the bomb in secret for a reason. She's trying to keep a lot of already frightened people from panicking. You saw the riot 2 nights ago. That is exactly the kind of situation we're trying to avoid repeating. His calm, scolding tone infuriated her. People need to know about the flu, Lexi said. Why not just tell people to wear face masks and wash their hands? No one's protecting themselves because they don't know that they should. And if it's just a flu strain, why not let us all out? People get the flu all the time. The senator threw her hands up. Oh, so now you're in charge of the situation? At least I'd keep people from playing spin the bottle when they could be spreading disease with every kiss. You started a riot, the senator shouted. On the outside, hundreds of people, more every hour, are picketing and screaming at the barriers surrounding the mall. The governor's called the National Guard. This is exactly why the feds shut down the internet and the phones. They did not want the people outside to worry until we knew what we were dealing with. This is not all my fault. It couldn't be all her fault. Lexi folded her arms across her chest. You expected people's families to just sit around and wait for you to spoon feed them whatever lies you wanted. The senator slapped Lexi across her face. Dorothy, her dad shouted. Wake up, the senator said, ignoring Arthur. This is not some battle of wills between you and me. This is a real crisis. I have the president himself inquiring into whether my daughter would be a part of whatever organization put this bomb here in the first place. The icy claws strangled Lexi once again. The senator continued. Now you're starting to get it. We turned the news channel off in the mall so people couldn't see their grandparents' parents' children being driven away from the perimeter by armed soldiers. Darren's been taken in for questioning. The FBI is doing a background check on all our finances and scouring your computers at home to look for connections to terrorist organizations. This is all really happening. Lexi felt like a balloon whose string had been cut. She felt suddenly free. So you're saying my life is trashed? Arthur stepped in front of the senator. Lex, your mother is just trying to say my life is trashed. Lexi stood straighter. Good. I barely had a life on the outside anyway, right? Don't you get mouthy with me, the senator snarled. I'll do what I want, Lexi said, turning. The police scanner flew by her head and exploded against the wall. Don't you walk away from me, the senator screamed. Lexi walked back faster, ran out of the stockroom, out of the Apple store. Tears streaming down her cheeks. There was only one place to go. She stomped up the stairs and lopped toward the Abercrombie. Ginger was coming out of the entrance. She was crying too. She's sick, Ginger yelped. Maddie's sick, and so are other couple kids. I was so scared I just ran out. She'd been right. Those kids had been playing Russian roulette, and Maddie had lost. It was clear what Lexi had to do. She had to take care of whomever she could, starting with Maddie and the other kids in the Abercrombie, so she'd have to spill a few more Ross family secrets. It's not like her mother could get any angrier. Come with me, she said to Ginger. Ginger followed, hands clasped in front of Shouldn't we get help? Get one of those space people? Lexi gritted her jaw. The government is only interested in covering their ass. The medical teams would probably lock those kids up for observation instead of treating whatever's wrong with them. Ginger stopped. So what? You're going to save them? Lexi faced her. It doesn't look like there's anyone else to do the job. Come on, we can get supplies. No, Ginger seemed to shrink into herself. I mean, I'll help you get supplies, but I'm not going back in there. What do you mean? Lexi cocked her head. Maddie's your best friend. Ginger stepped back. She's sick, she said, stepping further away. I'm sorry. Lexi's heart raced. She was truly alone. Coward, Lexi said. She left Ginger standing in the hallway. She would not abandon those kids. It was just the flu. She could help them even if her mother wouldn't. Lexi went to the fresh farm and picked up a basket. She knocked bottles of flu medicine, vitamin C, echinacea, Tylenol, and instant cold packs into it. There were some cans of chicken soup in another aisle. She grabbed those and a flimsy-looking can opener. Then she snagged the biggest bottle of hand sanitizer she could and all the face masks they had on the shelves for woodworking, diseases, whatever. She dragged everything to the checkout counter. The clerk began unloading the basket and ringing things up. You know something I don't, the person said, sliding a huge bottle of hand sanitizer into a bag. Lexi handed over her wad of cash, all her money, and grabbed her bags. Wash your hands, she said. Marco. Sorry, we don't have any waffles left, Marco said, cringing. People were getting pissed. One guy had picked up his fork and threatened to sample Marco's arm if he didn't dig a piece of bacon out of some corner somewhere. This woman simply sagged in her seat. Well, then bring me whatever's left and I can put syrup on it. Marco flipped open his order pan. He'd written down all the breakfast items that remained in the freezer. Toast. Fine, the woman said, hugging her purse to her belly. All I wanted was a new pair of loafers, she said. Imagine if I'd only waited until Sunday, none of this would have happened. Marco wasn't sure what to say. The quarantine still would have happened, just not to her. Sorry, he muttered, thinking that was the response most likely to get him a tip. She didn't respond. The lady stared at the wall across the aisle, breathing softly. The guy this morning who wouldn't take no bacon for an answer was not the first to threaten Marco with his utensil, and Jerome had to take over his bathroom guard after a guy picked Josh up and tossed him out of the way rather than pay the 25 cents to use the John. Jerome was not someone any mall walker was likely to mess with. Marco's world was now divided between the mall walkers and the mall workers. Of course, there were the outsiders who were a special class, the overlords of this insane little petri dish, but the rest either were mall workers suffering on, running the stores, cleaning up the mess, or mall walkers with nothing to do but hang out, flirt, see movies, window shop, whatever. Marco was beginning to really hate the mall walkers, as all they did was whine and complain. They should try pulling 6 straight shifts. They should shut the hell up and be grateful anyone's serving them at all. With the rising emotional barometer, Marco began to consider whether there was any possible scenario for survival within the mall. Each new malevolent customer-made escape seemed the best option, but was it even possible? He'd heard some kids talking about the escape attempt through the parking garage. You didn't need tarot cards to predict the failure of that attempt. If the outsiders had blocked even the obscure fire escape in its ceiling, surely they would have considered the possibility of someone driving their car through the garage's security gate. Anyone who'd ever seen an action movie could have called that plan. He needed to think of something truly insane, something not even Michael Bay had conceived of doing, something beyond the thinking of J.J. Abrams. Kid. A guy at table 10 was waving an empty coffee mug at Marco. Yeah, buddy, get in line. They were rationing coffee now. Mr. Sveglia sprinkled the new grinds into the machine over the old to give the water some color. Marco imagined the resulting liquid taste somewhere between burnt dirt and pond scum. He stalked up to the coffee maker and grabbed the pot, then tromped back to the guy at 10 and gave him a half cup. Fill her up, kid, the guy said. I haven't slept since Friday. Marco braced himself. Sorry, he said. We're only allowed to do 1 half cup refill per order. If you want a full cup, you have to pay for another. The man looked at the sad tannish water in the mug. Marco waited for him to chuck it at the wall, but the man simply slurped his ration down. I'll take another order then. He held up the empty cup. He looked like he was ready to cry. A guy who was like Marco's dad's age, on the verge of tears over coffee. Marco had to get out of the mall. He couldn't take this anymore. He filled the guy's mug and the other empty cup on the table. Don't tell, he said. The guy smiled weakly. You're a good kid, he said. eyes to his shoulder. He'd pulled something, lifting a bin full of dirty dishes, but if things kept up this way, Marco and Josh would have to be taped together to function. Marco hopped off the stool and grabbed 2 menus from the side of the server stand. "I'll take these guys." Josh didn't even look up. The guards wanted to sit in the back away from the hallway, and it didn't matter to Marco, so he sat them in a booth in the back corner. As he led them to their seats, they continued their conversation as if he weren't even there. "You see that memo from the suits?" the one guy said. "Don't mention it," the other replied, "or you're gonna make me lose my appetite. You think it's serious?" "What kind of sick monkey would put that in a memo as a joke?" Marco slid the menus onto the tabletop. "We're out of almost everything," he said. He opened his pad and examined the list of what remained. "I think I can do eggs, maybe toast." The worried guy glanced at Marco. "2 coffees," he said. "And whatever else they got left back there," the other said. "2 of that." Marco nodded and gave their order directly to the cook. The computer system was useless now that none of the regular menu items were available. He went to grab the coffee and saw the pot was empty. Marco needed to brew a new pot, and to do so he needed more grounds. He checked the bar, but the enforcer wasn't there. A guy sat alone at the counter, a half-empty beer in his hand, and watched the sitcom being rerun on the TVs. The news channels were all blocked, not that they'd shown more than vapid speculation over the last few days. Marco wondered what had happened to cause the government to cut them off. Nothing good. The door to the enforcer's office was slightly ajar, and Marco knocked, pushing the door open. He was slumped over his desk. Marco touched his shoulder. The body slid further across the desktop, knocking over a glass of water. Marco ran out of the dishwashing sink and washed his hands. He didn't know why he was so shocked. He'd been hacking like crazy, but damn, he had to think, he had to tell someone. But what if everyone just panicked and left him alone with this dead guy and the surly customers? No, he needed a plan before he broke this bombshell. First, he had to make coffee. Coffee, yes, make the coffee. He needed time to plan. Marco went back to the office, opened the door, and used his apron to grab the keys from the desk and shut the door quietly behind him. Then he grabbed coffee from the locked bar cabinet and returned to the machine. Everything would be fine. He would think of something. He wiped his face on his sleeve. When the pot was full, he returned to the guards. They didn't see him as he approached, otherwise Marco was sure they would have shut their mouths. "But how can a flu be deadly?" the worried guy said. "Isn't the flu just, well, you know, the flu?" Marco ducked into the nearest booth and sunk below the dividing wall so he could eavesdrop. "You heard of the Spanish flu? Killed millions of people," the other guy said. "But that was 100 years ago." "Well, that's the thing about flus," the other guy said. "There's no cure for a flu virus, only natural immunity. The suits explain that when a flu mutates, no one has immunity, and it's a potential pandemic. Nothing they can do about it. But to quarantine this place indefinitely, better than letting it spread," the other guy said. Excuse me. But to quarantine this place indefinitely, better than letting it spread, the other guy said. Plus, we get overtime on top of a bonus. "Quarantine," Worried repeated, as if letting his own words sink in. "These people are going to eat each other alive." Marco stood and went to the cop's table. He tried to control the tremors running throughout his body as he poured their coffee. "Your order should be out soon." The warrior cop waved his hand at Marco as if to say who cared about the food. This is Marco's exact thought on the issue. What else mattered besides getting out of here before being killed by either choice A, the flu, or choice B, the other inmates? Nothing else mattered. Marco left the coffee pot on the server stand and untied his apron. He tossed it at Josh. "The place is yours," he said. Josh looked at the apron, then at Marco. "Dude," he said. Not you, too." "Good luck," Marco said, and he meant it. The guards had given him an idea. If they came in through the back, they had universal card keys, meaning they could open any service door in the mall. Marco needed one of those keys. Once he had it, he could search every corner of this place for an exit. There had to be a way out, and Marco would be the one to find it. Thank you so much for being patient with me. I hope to post this soon, and Maddie, thank you for all of your support, and Sam, thank you as well. I really appreciate your guys' positive comments. I will be posting part 8 soon.